For a few years now, I've had what I consider to be one of the best jobs in the world. I teach music. I teach music in a prison. And what I'm going to do today is answer a question. It's a question I get asked a lot by people when they find out where I work. I'm asked, how is learning about music helping someone to stop committing crime? They should be learning about maths and English. They should be learning how to get a job. They should be getting taught how to manage their anger, their attitude, their behaviour. They should be learning about consequences. Now my answer is very simple. They are. What I'd like to do is illustrate how music education can be the gateway not only to better essential skills, but a lot of other things that are crucial to successfully rejoining society. I'll share how people from very different backgrounds can come together to challenge and support one another when they share just three things in common. They have all at some point made a bad decision. They all have some interest in music and they would all like to have a better tomorrow. Now, first of all, I need to point out that the prison population is obviously just as diverse as the wider community. No one is immune from poor judgment. What this means is any statement I make about the people I teach isn't going to apply to everybody. Now, the prison service here in the UK have done quite a lot of research into recidivism or repeat offending, and they've identified some factors or areas that could cause someone to continue making these poor choices. So let's have a look at some of those and how music education could provide a seed of change. Education and employment. So let's start with a few statistics. In a survey commissioned by the Ministry of Justice, where they followed just under 1,500 newly sentenced prisoners, 63% had been suspended from school at some point. 42% stated that they had been permanently excluded or expelled. The national average at the time? 0.1%. It's hard to ignore those numbers, or to deny the impact that a positive experience at school can have. Now, one of the biggest challenges I face when working with my learners is convincing them that they not only have something to gain from rejoining education, but just as importantly, they have something to contribute. Now, the wonderful thing about music is that everybody can learn something from anybody. Everyone has something relevant to say. What this means is that you can be the participant not only in your own learning, but other people's, rather than just having it happen to you. I believe this is a catalyst to counteracting some of the negative attitudes that may have come from their first experiences at school. You don't have to just take my word for it, other studies have been done. In a study commissioned by Youth Music, 974 pupils between 11 and 15 took part in a study where they taught electronic music, hip-hop and grime, and a pretty remarkable thing happened. Those who had been at risk of exclusion suddenly had an attendance level of around 95%. Some students who had already been excluded rejoined education, and there was also evidence to suggest a better than expected outcome in maths and English. Now, this isn't magic, it's common sense. You give someone an engaging and exciting context with which to learn something, and it opens up all sorts of possibilities. Showing up and applying yourself is then a transferrable skill that you can move to the workplace. It's a start. It's a seed of change. Lifestyle and friends. Now, it's absolutely right that there needs to be a focus on gaining employment, and the prison where I work is doing some pretty innovative stuff around this. But it's obviously a piece of a much larger puzzle. So here's a question. What are you going to do with your spare time? What's going to stop you answering that text from friends who don't have your best interests at heart because you're lonely or bored? How are you going to spend your disposable income? Well, anyone that's ever picked up a musical instrument or tried to produce music of their own will tell you, you tend to enter a bit of a time warp. You can lose hours in the pursuit of music because it demands everything that you have, but gives you so much in return. Music acts on the brain in a very unique way, which is why it's one of the best ways to occupy a busy mind. For example, I encounter a disproportionately high number of people with diagnosed ADHD in my work, and I've witnessed firsthand the transformative effect that music can have for them. People can maintain focus and concentration on music when they find it difficult to do so with anything else. And the other great thing about music is you never stop learning, growing and evolving. Music becomes a friend for life. Wellbeing. People who find themselves in prison are up to 5 times more likely to have had treatment for mental health in the past. Now, there's been a lot more support in prisons as this has become better understood, and music is one of the best ways to support this. If you're looking for a mindfulness activity to really keep your mind occupied, it doesn't get much better than music. It's been proven to help with stress, anxiety, depression, and a host of other things. Anyone who's ever tried to pick up and play the guitar will tell you it's probably the biggest exercise in frustration management that you can find. I've witnessed some people grow massively through their engagement of music. I've seen people supporting one another in times of great crisis, and I've been privileged to help people work through their issues through the writing of songs. Whilst this COVID thing's been going on, I've been producing some mindfulness drumming exercises that have been relayed to the prisoners' in-cell televisions, which has given me an opportunity to continue supporting the place where I work in supporting the people in our care with their mental health. Accommodation. So ordinarily, I have a classroom of 12 individuals, all wanting to create and produce music of their own. We have some good facilities where I work, some quality instruments and the right software, but what we don't have is 12 self-contained soundproof booths. What this means is that my learners have to consider carefully the impact that the noise that they're making might be having on their colleagues. They have to negotiate acceptable times to provide quiet space for one another so they can all achieve what they want to achieve and coexist in this small space. This is a transferrable skill. This is a skill that can be transferred to a tenancy because it's really all about being a good neighbour. Now, with a lot of my learners having experienced eviction and homelessness, anything that we can do to help address this is going to help in the long run. Attitudes and behaviour. For a long time now, it's been suggested that music has contributed towards criminal attitudes and behaviour. Particularly now with the upsurge of genres such as drill music, which is considered to glorify crime and extreme violence. Now, I'm a little bit on the fence with this one, because I believe that there should be a focus on developing personal responsibility for your own actions. That being said, a lot of my learners have shared that there's often been a soundtrack to their criminal behaviour. Now, rather than dismissing this music as inappropriate and unacceptable, I think we should be using it as an opportunity to open up a dialogue about where these beliefs are coming from. There's obviously no place in rehabilitation for some of this music, but I think we should be having a conversation about why it's so appealing. I often have to challenge the use of a lot of language that appears in this music when my learners try to put it in their own songs. And I found that identifying where it originates from helps to explain why using it doesn't help them. What often happens as well is my learners will then challenge one another when they hear them using the same language. This creates a culture of change by encouraging people to explore the consequences of the language that they use. So let's go back to music promoting crime and violence for a second. Let's take for granted that that's true. If music is really that effective, if music can really affect someone's behaviour to the point that they're committing acts with often such profound consequences, then surely we should be using something that powerful to inspire change. All we have to do is alter the perspective a little bit. So why should we provide music education in prisons? Well, if we are to expect the people who find themselves in prison to successfully rejoin what we consider to be a civilised society, then we have to treat them in a civilised way. Having an opportunity to express yourself creatively is the indicator of just about any civilised society that I can think of. Nearly everyone has a unique relationship with music. It starts with the lullabies sung when you're born and follows you through to the tunes that see you out at your funeral. Throughout the whole time, it tracks you through the highs and lows of your life. Maintaining that relationship is part of what makes us human. Part of what makes us feel we belong. That's why I love my job, and why I believe that music education can help people aspire to make a better tomorrow.